Ito ang inyong lingkod na nagbabalik upang magbigay ng mga balitang walang bias at pawang katotohanan lamang. Ito ang Bayang Pinas. Ang isyong ito ay naging usap-usapan sa buong bansa at iba't ibang social media platforms. DOJ Secretary or Department of Justice Secretary na si Boyeng Remulla tila ba nabwisit na dito kay Congresswoman Franz Castro. At sinabi umano dito kay convicted na ito na siya dapat ang may kulong dahil convicted siya. Tila ba ang kinabwisit nitong si Remulla na ito ay ayaw makinig ng congresswoman na ito at puro sungbat. Dito nga natin makikita mga kaibigan na kahit pala itong si DOJ Secretary na kahit maraming anomalya na naipapatong sa kanyang mga ulo ay tila ba meron din palang paninindigan. Katulad na lamang dito sa pag-question nitong si Congressman or Congresswoman Franz Castro patungkol sa mga budget na pinoprotektahan daw umano ng Departamento of Justice kung saan mga kaibigan ay bakit hindi ito daw naisasabi sa Kongreso. Ngunit ang pagsabi naman ni Remulla dito na ang DOJ ay neutral lamang sila at wala silang pinapanigan dahil nga sila ang tagapagtanggol ng mga naaapi. Dahil nga sila ang tagapagtaguyod ng hustisya at bawal meron silang kinakampihan at walang pinoprotektahan. Kaya nga dito ito namang si Franz Castro na ito ay hindi nakikinig at puro na lamang sungbat, kaya na lamang nabwisit itong si Remulla dito kay Franz Castro na ito at sinabi na pag hindi siya nakinig at patuloy pa rin ang kanyang pananumbat, ay talagang siya na ang may kukulong. Kaya na lamang hindi maiwasan ng ating mga netizen na magbigay ng kanilang mga hinaing at opinyon. Philippines, treason is punishable by reclusion perpetua to death and a fine of up to 4 million pesos. Castro, pasok ka dito kayong mga makabayan black. Pakiliwanag lang po, bakit pag sibilyan guilty sa isang kaso kulong agad? Bakit mga may posisyon sa gobyerno pag guilty walang kulong? May immunity rin ba sila gaya ng presidente? Yan, mas naniniwala pa kami kung ang mga NPA na yan ang tugisin nyo kaysa ang mga leader at polis na pumatay ng drug lord na malaki ang kaginhawaan naming mga mahihirap. Parang nabubulahanan lang mga ito. Di na talaga ka-respeto ang batas ngayon. Kasi kahit convicted na ay hayan, nasa Congress pa rin at pinapayagan pa rin magtatanong at kung makapagtanong, wagas na akala mo'y walang bahid ng conviction. Not interested to watch this hearing. Dapat ang budget ng PDL ay maliit lang para yung extra budget doon mo na lang ilaan sa mga law-abiding citizen o sa mga seniors. Bakit ba bigyan ng malaking budget ang mga PDL na sila naman ay gumagawa ng labag sa batas? Well, para nga sa kabuang detalye at impormasyon ay panoorin na lamang ang buong video. At kung bago pa lamang sa ating channel ay syempre huwag kakalimutang mag-subscribe, pindutin ang notification bell, piliin na rin ang all upang laging maging updated sa mga balitang bago, totoo at walang bias. Dito sa channel ng Bayan, ang Bayang Pinas. At sa ating mga solid viewers naman dyan ay maraming salamat naman po sa patuloy na pagtangkilik sa ating channel. Muli po huwag kakalimutang mag-like at i-share ang ating mga videos. Muli po mga kababayan, maraming salamat po and God bless.
Natin, Mr. Chair, na nawawala yung impartiality ng mga prosecutors din dahil DOJ mismo ay member ng NTF-ELCAC at ang ATC po.
Madam Chair, Mr. Chairman, the Department of Justice has to be objective in what it does. Partiality is a point of view that many of us may have a different definition of, because we are partial to victims of crimes. If that is the only thing that we have to do, we have to state that we are very partial to victims of crimes, but we are very objective in what we do as to the culpability of people. We will not bring anybody to court without any evidence that will back up our claim. In fact, we already have established a higher modicum of evidence for the next few months that will be introduced to the public. We always talk about probable cause, Madam Chair, but actually the bigger modicum of evidence that we want to introduce is a reasonable certainty of conviction that based on the evidence available to the prosecutor. That's why we are not we are objective in what we do, but we are not impartial. We are very partial to the victims of crimes, Madam Chair.
Madam Castro.
Mr. Chair, kasi halimbawa may mga example na tayo na meron, Mr. Chair. Nung for example itong last May 2023, Bangged RTC Branch 2 acquitted CPA chairperson, yung CPA po Cordillera People's Alliance, chairperson Windel Bulingit and 6 others due to lack of probable cause. Last July 17, 2023, MTC Manila, Branch 47, granted demurrer to evidence resulting to the acquittal of May Nasino and others. So bakit po, Mr. Chair, kung sinasabi ninyong partial kayo sa mga victims, may know bakit sa level pa lang ng prosecutor hindi na di-dismiss yung kaso? At alam niyo po itong si May Reyna Nasino, namatayan pa po ito, Mr. Secretary ng anak. So, at nakakulong siya for 3 years. Nakulong siya for 3 years na talagang hindi naman napatunayan yung kanyang kaso.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The burden of proof in criminal cases is proof beyond reasonable doubt. Vis-a-vis the reason why people file cases just because of probable cause. That's why the Department of Justice is adopting a higher standard, which is reasonable certainty of conviction based on the evidence. And Madam Chair, we cannot win all the cases. These cases were filed prior to our coming into the DOJ. And we just have to roll with the punches. We cannot win all the cases that are filed by the prosecutors, but we can assure everybody, Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, that our standard of looking at the cases is much higher now, and we are demanding much more from the prosecutors before they file cases. That is something that has to be done to actually solve many problems, including the congestion of our jail system.
So last question po as regards to that. So are there mechanisms, Mr. Chair, Mr. Secretary, that are in place para po mapanatili natin yung impartiality ng mga prosecutors and at the same time DOJ as part of NTF-ELCAC and ATC?
Well, as I said again, I will repeat again, Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, that impartiality is not what we look at here. We're looking at objectivity. Will always be partial to the victims of crimes and defend their right to redress of grievances, which is also a constitutional right. But objectivity is, I think, is the more important thing, that we do not go to court with bias against anybody.
Thank you very much.
No, may I continue, Mr. Chair?
Okay.
I still have questions. So, next topic po, drug-related killings in the Marcos administration for year 1. So, as of our data, we have data gathered, no, as of June 30, 2023, there are 342 drug-related killings, or that is 0.9 killings per day. The number is higher compared to the last term of President Duterte. 302 drug killings a day, or 302 drug killings, or 0.8% a day. So, ito po yung yung data. Killed by state agents 160, killed by non-state agents 42, unidentified 105, and unknown 35. So, ang question po ay, ang DOJ po ba ay iniimbestigahan itong kaso na to? Kasi alam ko, Mr. Chair, meron tayong certain period of time para ma-inquest itong mga kaso na ito. Lalo na yung mga drug-related, human rights violations, katulad nung case nung bata ni Jemboy. So, yun ang unang tanong po. So, meron po ba tayong inquest ba ng DOJ itong mga kaso na ito na drug-related and others po?
Depende po yan sa kaso kung ito'y darating po sa amin, dadalhin po ng ating law enforcement agencies. May inquest po yan kung nandun po ang kaso, kompleto po ang detalye, at kompleto po ang reklamo, kompleto po ang testigo. Ang ganyang problema kasi po, hindi ho namin alam kung saan nanggagaling ang data na ating po pinag-uusapan. Ngunit, maliwanag po na yung mga pangyayari po na sasabihin na drug-related ay hindi po natin masasabi kung totoo po ito o hindi. Ang mahalaga po ay ma-validate muna itong data
Yung
ito.
data po na yan, Mr. Chair, ay galing din po yan sa PNP. So, yun po yung data na nanggagaling.
So, kung sinabi yung drug-related
So-
killings, Mr. Chair, mahirap po kasi sabihin pag unknown persons ang gumawa, bakit po parang nilalagay na state agents kaagad o kaya sasabihin na killings under Marcos para hong may pinatatamaan po sa politika. Sana po,
Hindi naman po.
maging
So, syempre,
objective po tayo.
nanggagaling po yan sa panahon na po nito. Kaya,
so,
kaya
sa
nga po
panahon po
na-compare
ito, may
natin.
nangyayari pong pagpatay.
Kaya po na-compare natin, Mr.
Opo.
Secretary,
Opo.
yung last year nung panahon ni Duterte at saka yung ngayon. Based yan doon sa PNP, PNP data po.
Sige po, basta yung data po na yan ay gusto po namin malaman at makita. At ito po yung aming i-validate kung totoo po yan.
So, meron na po
Pwede
bang...
namin tanongin siguro sa NBI at sa police kung
So-
ito po ay may hong basihan ng
So-
lahat ng data na to.
Thank you, Mr.
Salamat po.
Secretary. Meron na po na inquest related dito sa drug.
Ang inquest po kasi may specific cases po. Kung sasabihin nyo sa amin ang pangalan, hahanapin po namin sa aming pong talaan.
So sa ngayon po, so without naming names, ilan po ang na-inquest based doon sa mga drug-related cases?
Anong period po yung inquest na tinatanong nyo? Kung ito po ay from July 1, 2022 hanggang ngayon sa kasalukuyan po?
Yes, Mr. Secretary, ito po yung June 30 hanggang June 30, 2023. Mula po nung June 30, 2022 hanggang June 30, 2023 po, Mr. Chair.
Hahanapin po namin ang mga inquest records po. At ngayon po sasabihin po na natin, andito po ang Prosecutor General upang tanungin po ang bawat sangay ng Department of Justice tungkol sa pag-i-inquest ng drug-related killings na inyo pong tinatanong kung ito po ay na-inquest na o hindi ng ating pong Department of Justice.
Pwede po bang makakuha ng data, Mr.
Yes,
Secretary?
the Prosecutor General will furnish you the data, ma'am.
Last topic na lang,
Okay, you have
Mr.
30
Chair.
seconds.
About ina-advocate ko na kasi ito dahil sa ating mga PDLs. Subsistence allowance of inmates sa mga Bucor. So nakalagay pa rin po dito, Mr. Chair, Mr. Secretary, na 70 pesos subsistence allowance and 15 pesos medical allowance. So last year po, kinwestiyon ko na ito. Pero hanggang ngayon, 70 pa rin. Ano na inflation, no, Mr. Secretary and Mr. Chair. Pero bakit kaya, ano ba yung nirekomenda nyo sa DBM? Ito pa rin po ba yung nirekomenda nyo? Kasi yan po rin po yung nasa NEP. So, under what program, activity, project, ito nakalagay specifically, how much PS, MOOE, CO allotted dito sa subsistence and medical.
Ang amin pong hiningi sa the Bucor po, ang hiningi sa budget ay 100 pesos at 30 pesos. 100 pesos sa pagkain at 30 pesos po sa gamot. Ngunit hindi ito binigay sa amin. At marami hong hindi talaga binigay ang DBM na kailangan po ng DOJ. Yung yung congestion po ng ating mga kulungan. Ang piitan po natin ay nasa 383% ang congestion rate. Ngunit, ang hiningi namin po para maiayos to ay 23 billion para magpagawa ng bagong piitan at para ma-decongest po natin ang mga tao. Ngunit wala akong binigay sa amin na gantong pondo ang gobyerno.
Nandiyan ba ang DBM, Sir Chair? Can we ask the DBM to answer? Kasi
I think your time is over, and if you want to ask the DBM, please take your questions in the second round. So for the first round,
Mr. Chair, sasagutin naman, hindi rin ako nagtatanong eh. DBM, kasi sinabi po ni Sir Secretary na ganito yung...
wala naman si
ganito
DBM
po
dito. DBM is not a member of the DOJ family. So,
I know po, kasi sa mga, ang alam ko po, sa mga budget hearing, meron nandiyan ng DBM. Sinabi ni Secretary, they asked for 100
okay, I will,
pesos. So bakit po hindi ba
the COMSEC
binigay?
is asked whether or not there is a representative from the office of the DBM. I am so sorry you are not recognized earlier, so you may answer. There is no more question to be asked. The good Congress, the representative is no longer allowed to ask further question. But on the last question, Please, Mary Ann de la Vega from the office of DBM, you may answer the question of the good Representative Castro. If you are around, please. Assistant Secretary Mary Ann de la Vega.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair. I'm Mary Ann de la Vega from the DBM. Yes, we have maintained the rate for the PDLs as far as their subsistence is concerned, which is 70 and 15 for medical. That is also the same with the other PDLs with the BJMP. So the reason why it was maintained because the impact of the other PDLs also being maintained by PDL would amount to almost 3 billion pesos. So
We have here Representative Rodante Marcoleta.
Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chair. How many questions should a friend ask a good friend? Meron lang po akong itatanong, Mr. Secretary. Ito po this is in regard to the persistence of the Office of the Prosecutor of the ICC to investigate alleged killings at the time of the former president. President Marcos already made a statement on this, that we are done with the ICC. And considering that the appeal filed by the Office of the Solicitor General was denied, but obviously we know that the denial was not unanimous. It's a 3-2 decision. Pero this morning, Mr. Secretary, if you will read the papers, yun pong ating Commission on Human Rights made a statement, public statement. Ang sabi niya, they are willing to cooperate with the ICC if their office is stopped by the prosecutor. Nakalimutan ko na yung pangalan niya, Mr. Chair. Karim Kiram yata yun? Hindi, artista po yung Karim Kiram yata. Karim Khan ata. How is that possible, Mr. Secretary, for our own Human Rights Commission to express cooperation with the ICC when the President already said we're done with the ICC? How do you think they will proceed, sir?
Mr. Chairman, I think that the Commission on Human Rights is an independent constitutional commission, but it has to respect the other branches of government that are there. And when the executive was already given the statement or its own commitment, I believe that it is their duty to consult first with the executive regarding this matter, because we have to speak with one voice as a country. So in this regard, Mr. Chairman, we may have to communicate with the Commissioner on Human Rights about this matter.
And of course, the Commission on Human Rights should also communicate with the Office of the Solicitor General.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Ano po yung competence ng ating yung mga cybercrime natin, Mr. Secretary? I have a very simple issue. Meron po kasing naglalaro sa Facebook. Siyempre po, hindi niya bibigay ang pangalan. Sometimes they make a mockery of the hearings in Congress, but they hide, their identity. Incognito sila sa Facebook, but they tag people. When you ask the people being tagged in the Facebook, sabi nila friend sila. Pag tinag mo pala, Mr. Chair, friend mo pala. Ngayon, pag tinanong mo yung friend, kung kakilala niya yung tinag niya, kahit na friend niya, hindi niya rin kilala. Is it possible for the NBI cybercrime to identify kung sino man yun para hindi na mo nakapaglalaro sila? Hindi naman po kami nasasaktan, Mr. Secretary. Kaya lang, I think it's more on protecting the institution. Pinagtatawanan nila kami na, well, they have all the rights sana, but not the institution. Sana, kung matulungan nyo kami, is it possible to identify them? Kasi kung ako lang, talagang mahihirapan po ako. Kung ABS-CBN lang sana yon, Mr. Secretary, medyo madadali tayo. Salamat po.
Ano ho kaya ho kausapin, ginagawa ho namin dito, kinakausap po namin ng Facebook. Meron ho kami yung opisina namin ng cybercrime within the DOJ talks to Facebook about taking down several posts that may be damaging to other people. And most of the time we are obliged naman, ino-obliged naman po kami ng Facebook. So pwede ho yan, I think that it can be done. But the biggest anti-cybercrime office right now with the budget is actually the Philippine National Police. The anti-cybercrime group of the PNP is the biggest right now in the country. Ang NBI po, maliit po ang aming, hindi ho ganun kalaki ang aming capability pa. But we're trying to build up our capabilities sa cybercrime. And the same thing with DOJ, as we are trying to reorganize the offices of the DOJ so that we can be more responsive to the times, because 70% of the crimes now have a cybercrime component, and that's why we have to adjust our approach to crimes, Mr. Chairman.
So ma-identify po natin sila, Mr. Secretary.
Basta
Yun lang po
ibigay
yung
mo sa
point.
amin ang ang data tungkol sa reklamo, ay sisikapin po namin na malaman po lahat
Ma-identify.
yan. Opo.
Salamat po, Mr. Chair. I'm done.
Thank you very much, Manuel.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning po sa lahat. I'd like to proceed straight to my questions. Sa Philippine human rights situation po noong 2020, nabanggit po doon na 9 years since nabuo yung Task Force AO35 on EJK, desaparecidos, torture, and other human rights violations. 13 cases lang po yung nag-result sa conviction. That is 3% ng 385 cases. Nagsabi din po yung CHR na yung Interagency Committee on its own ay hindi po nakapag-produce ng conviction. So, ina-acknowledge po ba ng DOJ na mabagal tayo sa pagpapanagot dun sa mga perpetrators?
Basta wala hong testigo, mahirap pong magdemanda. Ang kailangan po namin kooperasyon ng bawat Pilipino sa bagay na ito. At sana po merong hong magsusuplong ng mga salarin at magsasalita tungkol po sa mga krimen. Kung meron pong testigo, meron pong kaso. Yan po ang talagang takbo po ng sistema ng hustisya natin sa Pilipinas.
Mr. Chair, while meron naman po kasing mga gusto sanang mag-testify, tapos marami ding mga accounts, reports, and narratives, pero based po sa same report, mas marami pa po yung nadi-dismiss, 127 cases. Naka-clear po yung mga perpetrators through acquittals and dismissals. Kasama po dyan yung kay Manny Asuncion ng Cavite and yung Evangelista couple ng Batangas. 33% po yung mga naki-clear. So, mas mataas pa po yung batting average natin sa pag-clear ng perpetrator. So, paano po kaya natin mas pagbubutihin pa yung pag-aana nitong ating task force?
Ang problema ho kasi dito, basta may kaso po, depende po yan kung sa prosecution po kiniklear yan o sa korte na mismo. Kasi pagka sa prosecution po kiniklear yan, ibig sabihin, hindi ho dumabot sa piskal yung mga testigo laban po sa mga salarin sa isang krimen. Kaya sabi ko nga, ang mahalaga po ay ebidensya. Kung meron pong mga testigo at may ebidensya, sahabulin po ng DOJ lahat yan. Ang problema po, pag wala hong testigo at walang ebidensya, saan po kami magsisimula? Kaya ang ginawa namin ngayon ay pinagsasama namin ngayon ang pulis tsaka ang piskal na matuto sila magtrabaho magkasama upang magkaroon po ng case build-up. Yun lang po ang paraan upang malalakas ang kaso ma-file natin. Ngunit kung sa mga ganito pong mga krimen nga, kung wala hong testigo at wala ho talaga ebidensya, napakahirap po talaga na manalo sa kahit anong kaso na ganito po.
Mr. Chair, yung sa case po kasi ni Manny Asuncion, na isa pong labor leader sa Cavite, doon po may mga witnesses nga po na nagsasabi naman talaga na hindi totoo yung mga binabanggit ng police, pero at the end of the day, siya pa rin naman ay, yung kaso na dismissed due to lack of evidence di umano. Pero with that, Mr. Chair, I'd like to proceed na to my next topic. Ito naman ay tungkol sa ating drug war. Noong June 30, 2020, in-announce po sa UN Human Rights Council session na nire-review na yung around 6,000 na anti-illegal drug operations kung saan may mga namatay. Meron po bang operational guidelines yung interagency panel on this review?
Ang interagency panel po, ang DOJ review panel po ay aming nireconvene na, binubuo na namin ulit ito upang pag-aralan po yung mga kasong yan. Ngayon, yung guidelines po niyan ay ang guidelines po nito sa review panel na aming binuo at binubuo muli ay nasa ilalim po ng AO35 na meron po tayo ngayon sa DOJ.
Meron po bang particular guidelines ito, Mr. Chair, na nakasulat, printed out?
Titingnan ko po muna at aalamin ko sa ating pong kasama rito. Meron po tayong operational guidelines
Okay.
sa AO35.
Duly noted, Mr. Chair, would like to request na lang po na yung office po natin sa Kabataan and of course yung committee ma-furnish po ng copy ng written operational guidelines ng
We will
review.
comply, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Na-announce din po